You're listening to the 3 Pillars of Success, a podcast that inspires people of all walks of life to gain perspective on what it means to succeed. My name is Geraldine Convento, and I'm best known for entrepreneurship, my skills in web presence, and SEO. Thanks for listening. Enjoy the show. Hey y'all, how you doing? It's me, Geraldine, the Entrepreneur Guide, web and SEO expert. And today we are broadcasting with a new episode of the 3 Pillars of Success podcast, as we always do on Wednesdays. And her name is Melody Velasco. Hey, Melody.
Hi, thanks for having me.
You are welcome. So I know that everyone's really excited for what you have to say. So we're just going to jump directly into the questions. So who are you, where are you from, and what do you do for a living?
Hi, my name is Melody Velasco. I live in Southern California, and currently, actually, for the past 7 years, I have been a 9th grade high school English teacher.
And what do you do for fun?
I do a lot of DIY crafts. So I looked around my classroom, and there's a lot of taped boxes and different kinds of frames and little crafts that I made in my class. So I love doing DIY stuff. I have a goldfish that I do research on. I'm a pet mom. So as a pet mom, I take a look at my goldfish. And the third thing that I like to do is I simply like to look through magazines. I mean, I read literature with my kids, but sometimes I need that mental break of just like looking through recipes, reading magazines, and I'm intrigued by images and words. So I get a lot of creative inspiration as well from magazines.
Wow, that's so unique. We are going to go to the third question, which is really the reason why we're here. What does success mean to you?
Success is just that ability to accomplish goals, whether it's big or small. It's different for everybody because the success could be anything from a little kid's perspective of wanting to put a little game together or little parts of a Lego piece together. And when they can accomplish that, that's a success. But as adults, we put so much pressure on the bigger picture that we don't think about, hey, I lost 3 pounds, or hey, I was able to even get up in the morning. Success is in those little things. And once we praise ourselves for those little steps, we're able to look at other big pictures. So I'd say success is more of an accomplishment of goals. And again, little or small, and that just ability to just do it. Just say, hey, I did that. I did it. And be proud and recognize that you yourself were able to do that and put it together. Success comes in various levels. And it truly depends on how we see ourselves and what we want to do with the life that we are given. And it's wanting to do those things that help us get to create the next goal that we would like to achieve.
Yeah, I love that. And one of the reasons why I started this podcast is because I noticed for a lot of people that I would talk to or observe, they would look at success as a destination and they were so far from it. Right. And I don't believe that. I'm like you in that there's successes in every day. If we can reframe our mentality of success being so far away or that it's not attainable for us, then we can achieve so much more in that celebration of ourselves. So I really love that you lifted that up.
I absolutely agree. If I could go ahead and add to that, we are, as adults, focused on, okay, what do I have to do in 5 years? When I hit 20, I have to accomplish this. When I hit 30, 40, 50, there's articles out there that simply say like things you need to get done before you turn whatever age that is. And I looked at these lists and I go, no, you don't. The world's evolving. I'm evolving. It's okay that I didn't hit that mark because I know I'm going to hit that mark in about 5 years because that's where I will be. And then I didn't let that article determine my success or my goals or my achievements by that age. I knew my self-awareness that I knew I was going to get success. And if it's not at that moment, it will be. So yeah, absolutely.
That was like a drop the mic moment. Serious. If you could see her, I would tell her to drop the mic, but this is a podcast, so that's where we're at. Sorry. Okay. So, what are your three pillars of success?
I would say to be successful and to truly be happy with your end result, you have to look for the passion and what you want to achieve. Then you have to be determined to achieve that. Also, at the same time, in that passion and determination, you need to be ready for challenges. So when you're sitting there in your living room and you're not sure what to do, you don't know what step that is, something will trigger. And once you have that triggering moment to want to do something, you have to have passion for it. You can't just say, oh, I could do that, but I'm going to wait till tomorrow. You know it's something you want to do when you actually start looking it up. We all have phones now. If suddenly you're going to go on Google and you're going to look how to become an architect, and you are so intrigued that you keep doing that research, that's passion. The instant you start being curious or asking questions, that is a passion that you now want to learn more about. And when you want that, the next would be being determined to figure out what can I do to meet that goal, that success. Then you start looking, okay, I could go to architect school, or I could look into that in our community college. I could subscribe to that magazine. It's that passion that allows you to be curious. Then you're determined and you're like, wow, I can do this. But the third pillar is just being ready for those challenges. Because let's say you do look at that and you said, oh, I can't afford college. That's a challenge. Do you stop? Maybe. And that's okay, because you know that you'll come back to that later. And the challenge of knowing that you once looked at it, it may come back to you 10 years from now, 5 years from now. You're going to suddenly just be sitting there on that couch again and go, what happened to that time when I wanted to be an architect or a scientist or a writer? What happened to that time when I wanted to publish a book or a poem? 3 pillars of success to me comes within having the passion to do something and then being determined to do it, but also recognizing that the challenges also come within fails, setbacks, and all these little roadblocks that can essentially just help you later on. And if you don't end up being an architect, there was a success in knowing that there was that possibility, in knowing that there was something that sparked your interest so well that you were willing to do research about it and learn. And just from that research and learning alone, you've grown a little inside. So definitely those are my 3 pillars. I thought back at my career and my life, and I go, I've gone through so many challenges. I go, you have to be ready for these challenges. But I always wanted to be a teacher. And despite those challenges, I had the passion to keep figuring out what is new in education. What would I do as a teacher? What would be next? And so I looked it up and I researched. And I have a bunch of young teachers that are working with me now who started their careers way earlier. And here I am starting later, and I'm still happy with it. I find the success in achieving all of that.
So, what was an example of a roadblock that you've had to overcome in your path to success? And how did you overcome it?
There have been quite a few. There have been health roadblocks, even my own self-doubt, the inability to pass certain tests that are required for me to be a California state teacher. But I think the one that truly was a big roadblock for me was self-doubt. I allowed a multiple choice test, tell me you can't be a teacher. For California teachers, we're required to take certain tests. And now I've heard that they're not doing that so much. But at the time, the California basic exam test is what it was. And I passed everything but math. This is why I'm an English teacher. Math is not my strongest suit. And it's 8th grade level math. And I've always been bad at it. So I took the test. And I would say, thankfully, California allows you to take it over and over again, because I took it for an embarrassing amount of times. And it came to a point where I did stop. I stopped and I said, I can't be a teacher. But I redirected myself and I did other areas within education. I ran after school programs. I worked with the Boys and Girls Club of America, Campfire USA, and I found the little teaching aspects in that. And then one year I said, you know what? I'm going to try it again. And I was a after school program coordinator for about 4 or 5 years for different schools in different districts. And it wasn't until those 4 or 5 years later, I said, I'm going to study. I even asked my students for help on math. Like, what does your teacher teach you? And it was not only a way for me to engage with them, I made it seem like, oh, good job. If you could teach me, I could learn something. But it was also my way of learning how they learn. And I worked hard and I studied and I failed the test again. And I doubted myself and I kept studying and doubting myself. And then finally came to a point where I was like, I'm going to try this again. And I did. And I passed and we moved forward. The next thing you know, I was a substitute teacher with the school district. And then I showed myself my skills, my passion, and then I was hired. My true roadblock was having that self-doubt, and I allowed a test to do that to me.
Yeah, well, thoughts are things, and you definitely showcase determination. And that's the thing about the three pillars, that they don't always have to be sequential, because it seemed like in that you had little wins and then you went back to, it sounds like the foundation of everything that you're doing and working towards your goal was your passion.
Right. And I think that's for anybody to have a success that they want. A foundation would be passion. I worked with at-risk youth who were lost, who didn't know, have a direction. And I had to push them to believe that, fine, you don't know what you want to do after high school. This is perfectly fine. But at least stay true to yourself and find a passion that you want to do. Oh, you currently draw? That's perfectly fine. Nothing's wrong with that. And they liked that. And they felt an appreciation. I vowed that if I could encourage the youth to not have the kind of self-doubt I had as an adult, I probably did a big part of my job. But again, at the same time, I would tell them it's okay to make mistakes because you could always redirect yourself.
So what advice would you give to anyone looking to achieve success?
The advice I would give to anyone is that it's okay to redirect and follow other paths. Every year, there's something different. It may not be in the directions they wanted or imagined or thought they would be, but it's okay. It's absolutely okay. And when we allow ourselves to redirect, we could find ourselves back on that path that we wanted. And I think redirection also helps us grow. I mean, earlier on in college, I went to school for education, but in order to keep paying for school, I took on other jobs. So I ended up in different career paths. I worked in media, our school newspaper, our school radio. And by the time I graduated, I have this degree in education, but I didn't go on to pursue my credential. I redirected myself. And so if you want to be successful, that drive will put you where you want to be, but you have to be open to those challenges. And again, you have to be determined and understand that things may not always go as planned, but if you're okay to redirect, and no matter how many branches of this lovely success tree that you have, it still comes from a foundation. It still comes from that huge trunk of that tree. My advice would be it's okay. To tell yourself it's okay. And that failure is an option because we know that we could always get up and again, redirect ourselves.
What a great conversation. Yes. Well, thank you so much for agreeing to be on this podcast. Really enjoyed hearing what you have to say about success. And definitely kudos to you for everything that you've achieved. I mean, you never looked at anything that happened to you as failure. You know, I always like to say something that a friend of mine taught me, which is no such thing as failure, only feedback.
Right.
And it seems like that's something that you totally applied every single time.
Absolutely.
Thank you for listening to today's episode of the 3 Pillars of Success. We will talk to you next Wednesday. Bye.